Well, before we get you all of those stories, let's first start with the day's market action. Now, the Lal Street slipped today for the second week in a row as recession fears and hawkish stances by major central banks continue to weigh on sentiment. Both the Sensex and Nifty dropped over 1% each over this week, tracking weak global cues. Friday's session contributed to this loss, with Sensex and Nifty dropping over 0.5% each. Remember, they had fallen nearly 1% each on Thursday. In the currency market, the rupee ended the day marginally higher at 82.87 versus the dollar. But here's the top story this evening. India Inc. stalwarts believe that there is no better time for India to release its true potential than now. CNBC-TV18 Shireen Bhan caught up with HUL boss Sanjeev Mehta and Anish Shah of M&M as FICCI McKinsey released a white paper proposing a roadmap for India to achieve 600 million jobs and 10 lakh rupees per capita income by 2047. Sanjeev Mehta said that the risk appetite of the private sector had not gone away. Meanwhile, M&M's Anish Shah said that India is well positioned for growth.
Clearly, the ground is there for India to realize its potential. I don't think there has ever been a time when India is so well positioned to realize its potential and go away from a developing and emerging market and become a middle-income country. I think it would be wrong to say that the private sector is hesitant. The risk appetite of private sector hasn't gone away. And I think everyone in private sector is clamoring to get growth. And when growth comes, all the other indices fall into place. Yeah, if India keeps growing at 6-7%, then I see no reason why the capacity utilization won't go up and people will start investing.
The next 5 years are for India. We are very well positioned today. We've gone through a number of challenges on supply chain, on the pandemic, on inflation. We've come out much stronger than the rest of the world. We are positioned to really make in India in a much bigger way. We are positioned for growth. So I would go even beyond the numbers.
Innovation is something that has to be emphasized if India is to actually leapfrog and achieve its full potential. Because the days of jugaad is behind us. We have to look at being competitive globally, and to do so, we have to take the lead when it comes to innovation and R&D. We have to look at innovating in India and designing in India if we are to truly move up the value chain.
Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has asked India Inc. to brace for nations putting up tariff walls as they gear up to transit into a greener future. Speaking at the FICCI event in New Delhi, the Finance Minister said that these walls could result in higher costs for the domestic industry. She also said that a suspected long-drawn recession in Europe is an opportunity for the industry to work out their strategies.
They want to fund their transition by raising tariff walls. When you're going to export your steel, you will be facing tariff walls in the name of climate action tax. This is going to affect us, both for meeting our nationally determined commitments and also for industry to quickly understand this necessity for resetting yourselves so that the tariff walls which are coming up newly in the name of climate change is something which we should face. Suspected long-drawn recession, which is likely to affect Europe, is not just going to affect your exports. It gives us an opportunity for many of the investments which are there for now looking for a different place from where the activities can continue to happen. It is also the best time for you to work out strategies for drawing those manufacturers from there to India. Even as they're headquartered there, it might be useful for them to think of sourcing many things from here and producing from here. We are readying the next budget for the country, a budget which will follow the spirit of the earlier budgets. We are going to set the template which was set earlier, but follow it and take it further for India's next 25 years so that at 2047, as was indicated by the Honorable Prime Minister, we look forward to our children living in an India which is 100 years free.
The Drug Controller General has written to the World Health Organization saying that linking Indian-made cough syrups to deaths of children in Gambia was a premature conclusion which adversely impacted the image of India's pharmaceutical products. Now, yesterday, the government said that the cough syrups manufactured by Maiden Pharma, which allegedly led to the deaths of 66 children in Gambia, was of standard quality. Timsy, take us through the highlights of this letter which has now been sent to the WHO.
Well, on 13 December, Drug Controller V.G. Somani has written to WHO stating that the statement issued by WHO way back in October was unfortunately amplified by global media. In a 3-page letter, Somani has shared that Indian government has got independent tests done for the 4 cough syrups which were under question by WHO for alleged deaths in Gambia. Somani has shared with the WHO that the test results of samples clearly show that diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol were not found in the samples. Thus, and I quote, "There is no direct causal relationship between cough syrup consumption and deaths of children in Gambia." WHO's premature conclusion was unfortunately amplified by global media for building a wrong narrative against India's pharmaceutical products. India has been committed to rigorous monitoring and oversight to ensure the highest standards of manufacture in quality control of drugs and cosmetics. End of quote.
WHO does not do the causality assessment, and it is to be done by the health authority of Gambia. We did not get information yet, and therefore, and later was report says all the 4 samples of the cough syrup control samples, the test reports say that they comply with the pharmacopoeia description. That means all the ingredients were within that.
In other news, the Finance Ministry is likely to accept the Health Ministry's demand to include Serum Institute cervical cancer vaccine as a part of its national immunization program in the upcoming budget. Now, the government expects Cervavac to be available from April next year. JSW Infrastructure is eyeing D-Street listing next year. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the company is likely to file its IPO papers with SEBI by February of next year. Yash Chen now joins us with more details. Yash, tell us, what are your sources telling you?
JSW Infra, which counts itself to be one of the top 5 port companies in the country, has appointed JM Financial as the lead banker to its IPO. What sources tell CNBC-TV18 is that the company is in the process of appointing more investment bankers as far as the IPO is concerned. A quick look at the timeline. According to sources, JSW Infra is looking to file the IPO DRHP with SEBI by February of 2023 and eventually launch its IPO by May 2023. As far as the size for the IPO is concerned, that is quite significant and large as far as the total fundraising is concerned. According to sources, JSW Infra is looking to raise about 3,000 crore rupees through its IPO. That would entail an equity issuance of about 10%, which a simple calculation will tell you will value JSW Infra at about 30,000 crore rupees. The entire IPO is a fresh issue, which means the entire 3,000 crore rupees raised through this IPO will come into the company. CNBC-TV18 has written to JSW Infra on this particular development. A response from the company is still awaited.
Right, Yash, thanks a lot for that update. Now, the consumer watchdog CCPA, or the Central Consumer Protection Authority, has issued notices to Flipkart as well as to Meesho relating to the sale of acid on their platforms. Both companies have 7 days to respond. This comes in the wake of an acid attack on a 17-year-old girl in Delhi. According to the police, the accused had bought acid on Flipkart. On to the latest in the AIM cyber attack investigation. The government told Parliament today that all the data has been retrieved from a backup server. The Health Ministry had said that 5 physical servers on which e-hospital application was hosted were affected in the cyber attack. The ministry also added that no specific amount of ransom was demanded by the hackers, though a message discovered on the server suggested a cyber attack. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will chair the 48th GST Council meeting tomorrow. The council is expected to take up the group of ministers' report on online gaming, casinos and race courses. According to sources, the council may also clarify on GST for SUVs, fruit juice-based drinks and private refiners. Chief Justice of India, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, has said that no Supreme Court bench will be available from December 17th to 1st of January during the winter break. The announcement assumes significance in the wake of Law Minister's statement in Parliament that long court vacations were not very convenient for justice seekers. The court will now reopen on the 2nd of January next year. Ahead of the union budget, CNBC-TV18 caught up with India Inc. to find out about their budget wish list. ASSOCHAM President Sumant Sinha said that the government should keep its interest rate and borrowing low to boost the capex cycle. Meanwhile, JK Paper's Harshpati Singhania said that he expects the budget to be growth-focused.
I think keeping interest rates low, keeping government borrowing low is an important aspect of making sure that the capex cycle has legs. So I think that would be my wish list as far as the capex cycle is concerned. I think that the government has been quite good in terms of coming out of PLI for a number of sectors. But in certain areas, for example, in solar manufacturing, there is a lot more demand than the PLI is actually able to fulfill. And so the government should consider, in fact, increasing the PLI in certain sectors where there is, in fact, more demand, because India has the opportunity of actually emerging as the alternative supplier to China.
This budget, I would expect, is going to be growth focused. There will be continued thrust on infrastructure development, both physical infrastructure as well as in the service area. For example, India has taken great strides in the digital space. I think the budget will continue to focus on this, as well as the social sectors like health and education, which are the fundamental building blocks of any economy.
Well, as a part of India taking over the G20 presidency for a year, Mumbai has hosted a 3-day meeting of the Development Working Group between the 13th and the 15th of December. Now, the run-up to this meeting saw many parts of the city undergo a facelift overnight, resulting in a total bill that exceeded 25 crore rupees. But CNBC-TV18 Sandhya Gora reports that while Mumbaikars appreciate the makeover, not everyone is happy that it takes a foreign delegation's visit for the BMC to do its job.
Posters and hoardings welcoming over 75 foreign delegates for a 3-day meeting of the G20 Development Working Group are just the tip of the iceberg. Overnight portions of Mumbai got a facelift. Construction sites were covered with white sheets. Guardrails along a few major roads were plastered the G20 colours and insignia, and even a few barren trees that dot the side of the arterial Western Express Highway got a splash of colour. Mumbai's civic body, the BMC, had earmarked 25 crore rupees for this beautification drive. But the beautification was selective, restricted to areas that would fall on the route these visitors would take while in the city. This selective approach has not gone down well with many.
We are being sacrificed for people who have no connection at all with the city for 4 or 5 days, while we have to bear the ignominy of living here among the dirt, the filth, the poor infrastructure, the constant aggravation of construction. We have to live like this, not just for this year, but for several years to come.
This city has huge opportunity, but we are losing the face in the front of the world by throwing the such dirt of showing gimmicks to others.
I think this is normal in the sense when delegates or big conferences are held in any city. It's normal for the local municipality to spruce up the city.
In a few areas, hawkers were removed from the streets, potholes were filled up, broken pavements were repaired, and a few roads were even washed. But these are temporary. The BMC has admitted that this was a drive to protect Mumbai's image, including how living conditions in the city are perceived. So entire slums were hidden from view.
जो ये कपड़ा ढका हुआ है वो G20 के लिए ढका हुआ है, जो हमारे इंटरनेशनल लोग आए हुए हैं वो उनके लिए ढका हुआ है, क्योंकि हमारा जो यहाँ का जो भारत के रहवासी उनको अच्छा दिखना चाहिए जो बाहर से आए हैं।
वहाँ से हवा पास हो रहा है ना कुछ हो रहा है, नहीं वहाँ से हवा पास हो रहा है ना कुछ हो रहा है, ऐसा लग रहा है कि हम लोग जेल में हैं अभी इतने दिनों से, 5-6 दिन से। देखते हैं कभी निकलते हैं, अभी सबको तकलीफ हो रहा है उस तरफ जाने इस तरफ आने, घूम के जाने गिरते इतने लंबे से।
ये ढकने के लिए काम कर रहे हैं, पॉलिटिक्स ये और कुछ नहीं है। ये नहीं तो पब्लिक को क्या है, ये भी दिखाओ ना पब्लिक को अंदर क्या है। ये ढकने के लिए पब्लिक को क्या है अंदर, वो भी दिखाना चाहिए ना। ये लगा रहा है, क्या होगा इससे? इतना पैसा खर्च करने से कोई फायदा नहीं है।
Mumbai's famous meaty river has not been spared either. Pune, Nagpur and Aurangabad will undergo a similar makeover. But like Mumbai, these makeovers will be restricted to specific areas and could be temporary in nature. Meanwhile, the condition of civic infrastructure continues to be a serious cause of concern in these cities. Maharashtra State Highway Police says that between 2014 to 2018, over 2,000 people have died in the state in road accidents caused by potholes. In Mumbai, Santiago.
Well, with that, it's time now to slip into a very short break. But coming up on the other side, India's popular tourist state, Goa, has received its first ever Greenfield International Airport. We get you a ground report when we come back.
आग को फैलने से रोकना मुश्किल है, पर नामुमकिन नहीं। अब फायरवॉल टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ सेंचुरी प्लाइड क्लब प्राइम आग से बचाए।
Volkswagen Tygoon, India's safest SUVW. Volkswagen.
आग को फैलने से रोकना मुश्किल है, पर नामुमकिन नहीं। अब फायरवॉल टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ सेंचुरी प्लाइड क्लब प्राइम आग से बचाए।
Volkswagen Tygoon, India's safest SUVW. Volkswagen.
Welcome back. A quick check at some of the other headlines. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar made a veiled attack on China during an open debate at the United Nations Security Council. He said that even as the world is coming together with a more collective response against terrorism, multilateral platforms are being misused to justify and protect perpetrators.
The issue of terror financing and state culpability, whether by commission or omission. The world may no longer be willing to buy the justifications and cover-ups as in the past. Through bitter experience, we know that terror is terror, whatever the explanation. The question now arises as to the responsibilities of the state from whose soil such actions are planned, supported, and perpetrated. 2. Ensuring the integrity and accountability of the counter-terror multilateral mechanisms and their working methods. They are on occasion opaque, sometimes driven by agendas, and at times even pushed without evidence.
The US has intensified its crackdown on the Chinese chip industry, adding YMTC and 21 major Chinese platforms in the AI chip sector to a trade blacklist. The move will severely impact these companies from accessing American technology. Twitter has suspended the accounts of several journalists, including ones from the New York Times and the Washington Post, who have been covering the company and its owner, Elon Musk. He says that the suspended journalists had posted exact real-time location and doxing rules to apply to journalists as to everyone else. Here's a CNBC report.
Suddenly suspended several high-profile journalists who cover the platform and also the company's CEO, Elon Musk, who controls it. The journalists were from services including the New York Times, CNN, and the Washington Post, among other outlets. Musk said the suspension stemmed from the platform's new rules banning private jet trackers or doxing via a ban on sharing people's location in real time. Now, Musk said the suspensions would last 7 days. In a tweet, he said, criticizing me all day long is totally fine, but doxing me real-time location, endangering my family is not. In another tweet, he said, The banned journalist posted his exact real-time location, which he called basically assassination coordinates. One journalist whose account was suspended, Matt Binder of Mashable, found a loophole in suspension and joined an audio discussion on Twitter Spaces, which was having a conversation all about this last night. Musk then joined that discussion briefly and explained his latest policy, saying, "You dox, you get suspended. End of story, that's it." He left minutes after he joined. The Twitter account of Mastodon, which is billed now as a Twitter alternative, was also suspended late yesterday. NBC News journalists were unable to tweet any links to those pages.
India's popular tourist state, Goa, has received its first ever Greenfield International Airport. Prime Minister Modi had inaugurated the first phase of this new terminal, which is set to be bigger, livelier, and more advanced. CNBC TV18's Madhiya Mujawar gets us a sneak peek from inside the new airport.
What you're seeing behind me is Goa's new international airport. This is the second airport in this tiny state, the first one being the Dabolim Airport. This terminal is located in Mopa, which is in North Goa, and is about 35 kilometers from the capital city, Panjim. The new airport offers many more facilities to passengers which are not available at the old airport. The new terminal spreads across 68,000 square meters with a capacity to handle 12,000 passengers per day. It will cater to 44 lakh passengers per year in the first phase, with an ultimate capacity to handle 3.3 crore passengers per year. Built by the GMR Group, this international airport serves all the segments of inbound and outbound tourism.
The existing airport being a naval airport, on the infrastructure of the naval airport, the Airports Authority of India airport is just working in collaboration with them. There are constraints in terms of the infrastructure. Hence, it was felt very clearly a need for a larger airport which is capable of expanding. This second airport is going to connect to more cities.
The airport has 18 check-in counters, 12 immigration and 8 emigration counters. Once you're inside the Mopa airport, departing passengers will move to the counters behind me for baggage check-in. The airport has also created self-check-in kiosks for faster processing. Post this, passengers will move to the first floor for security checking and then proceed for their boarding. The boarding area has a seating capacity to accommodate 800 passengers. After your security checking, when you proceed to your gate, the airport has created a long shopping line that stretches towards the gate. It has 70 outlets with 50 different local and international brands. Named after the late Chief Minister of Goa, Manohar Parrikar, the Mopa airport has 25,000 metric tons of temperature-controlled cargo handling capacity. Indigo and Go First are the first two airlines that have announced flights to the new airport. So if you're traveling to Goa after the 5th of January, your flight could possibly land at this new airport. With cameraman Swapnil Bandekar, Madhiya Mujawar in Goa.
Well, that's a new way for you to check it into Goa, but that's all the time that we have for. It's a wrap on this edition of India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue right here on CNBC TV18.